With the amount of choices of photographic equipment available for today's snappers, it seems like there is a special camera for every man, woman and child. From the camera phone to the Canon 1DX, just about everyone can press a button and make a photograph now. One of the most important facets of a digital single lens reflex camera is it is a digital camera that has interchangeable lenses. One of the most important aspects of photography is deciding which lens is appropriate for your purposes. So having the capability to swap an 85mm lens, which is great for shooting portraits, for a 500mm lens, which is a fantastic sports and nature length lens, means that you have an inbuilt flexibility that a compact camera will not necessarily provide. Most camera companies release lenses that range from extreme wide angle or fisheye to extreme telephoto lenses. Here are some examples of what images taken by different lenses will look like. Once you decide which camera brand suits you the best, buying lenses to fit your kit and your style of photography is crucial to your future. The lenses you buy, if well treated, can be the lenses you grow old with, even if your camera body is shorter lived. So spending money on some good glass is never a bad thing. Lenses are measured in terms of what we refer to as a field of view, which basically means that a wide-angle lens has a very wide field of view. This is a really handy lens for street photography and photojournalism, mainly because it's very useful for capturing an overall atmosphere or feeling for a scene without necessarily having our attention drawn to one subject or object within the frame. The advantages of a lens like this is that normally they do not have a huge amount of glass that will slow down the light rays as they pass through to the sensor. Because they have a shorter focal distance, the distance from the lens to the sensor, they tend to be brighter, which tends to make wide-angle lenses faster than other lenses, hence their use in photojournalism. A fast lens is really important to most photojournalists because there is no guarantee that lighting or weather conditions will be good enough to shoot whatever is necessary. Lenses with very wide apertures are valued by professional photographers for being very fast because they are so adaptable. A telephoto lens has a much more restrictive angle of view, and the reason for this is that it is designed to cover a further distance and specifically target the object we wish to photograph. These kinds of lenses are necessary when you know that you can't possibly be in the middle of the action. For instance, as a photographer in an international sporting event, it is impossible to shoot this action from the side of the field of play without a decent telephoto lens. The construction and weight of big telephoto lenses often make them prohibitively expensive and only useful for specialist purposes. The other thing a telephoto lens does is compress the apparent distance between the background and foreground of an image. Because of this, the background often appears closer to the subject. When shooting portraits, it can be quite a nice effect, not dissimilar to Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, where the background adds dimension to the mystery of the portrait. In years gone by, it was normal for a photographer to have a large range of fixed lenses, and working professional photographers normally buy lenses that are going to suit their line of specialist work. Doing sports, photojournalism, product or fashion all require different kits of equipment, so zoom lenses provide a sometimes much cheaper alternative for a photographer that is just starting out. Fixed lenses are lenses that have only one focal length and were prized as lenses that were more reliable than zoom lenses. They rarely suffered many of the aberrations caused by problems with the alignments of moving parts that zoom lenses were susceptible to in the earlier days. This is not so much of an issue in our present times of much improved technology. So a really great all-round lens for a first-timer is the 24 to 70mm. This is a lens that will cover most of your everyday needs, as it covers a variety of angles of view from landscape to portrait. It's a handy lens to begin your DSLR kit, as it can be used to shoot anything from an entire building to a beautiful head and shoulders shot. These are generally well-priced items that are manufactured by a range of brands and will always make a brilliant supplement to a complete camera kit. Yet if your interests lie more in the area of portraits and sport action, a longer length lens may be more appropriate for your approach. A good telephoto zoom lens in the range from 70 to 200mm is also a standard item favoured by many pro photographers. If there is a particular type of image that you are interested in making, there will always be a more specialist lens available. Though rather than rush out and buy what will probably be an extremely expensive lens, why not first consider hiring one for the day? It's definitely a cheaper solution, and if you think after a couple of days in the field photographing birds of prey, it's not your thing, then you won't have spent as much as up to $15,000 on a 600 to 800mm lens. Now, you certainly have learnt enough about what a camera does to go out and start taking some photos. I would like to set you a little exercise. With the camera you are currently using, I would like to see you photograph one subject or object, quite scientifically to begin with. We can be creative a little bit further on. So take one object or subject and shoot it in exactly the same fashion, but use a variety of different shutter speeds, apertures, ISOs and lenses. This will give you a good idea of how your camera functions and how the functions of the camera will affect your final image. In our next lesson, we will be discussing tripods and what they are useful for. Until then, happy snapping.